Well, hello there, everybody. So, I know a lot of you were really excited for my BookCon vlog and video, and I was really excited to vlog my whole experience because this was the first time I went to BookCon, and I thought it was going to be amazing and magical and, the best place on earth. I thought it was literally going to be like Disney World for book lovers, and it wasn't. And so this is going to be my honest opinion of BookCon and things that they don't tell you about it. Because the very first day that we were there, like the first couple hours, I was completely confused. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how to figure out what was going on. No one had warned me about anything every time I was watching like other people's YouTube videos about BookCon. And so I am here to tell you guys that sure, yes, the experience was fun and we did start getting the hang of it for a little bit, but BookCon is not what everyone makes it seem. Especially there's a lot of popular YouTubers, and I really think that they have a way different experience. Plus, a lot of people don't really make BookCon videos, or they don't tell you their tips and tricks about BookCon until they're in their third or fourth year. And I think that they honestly forget what the first year was like what their first time going to BookCon was like. Because now that I've been to BookCon, I could go next year and I know I would have a better time than I did this year because I would understand part of the process. But I really think that there needs to be a disclaimer about BookCon, and that you aren't given and handed out so many copies of books. You don't have to not take a book because you're not going to have room, or at least in my opinion and what I've seen on Instagram, now coming home from BookCon, there are so many people that only got 3 books every single day or didn't get any books every single day. And it's very deceiving when YouTubers talk about their experience with BookCon and they say, oh, make sure you bring tons of luggage to bring all your books back in, and make sure that you only take things that you want because you're going to get so much stuff that you won't be able to take it all, and all of that kind of stuff. That's not how it was. I literally fought so hard to get a book, and there were so many times that I didn't get a book. And so let me explain the actual process of how BookCon worked, and things that I didn't get told, things I had to learn by myself, and just my trip in general, because it was so crazy and chaotic that I didn't even have time to film. Most of the time we were standing in lines, and so it wasn't gonna be exciting for me to just vlog and be like, yep, standing in this line for an hour and a half, let me pull out my beef jerky now. Literally that's all the vlog would have been. So I'm sorry that there's only a little bit of B-roll and a little bit of me talking, but it's just, it was just way different than I thought it was going to be, so I couldn't really turn it into a vlog. So let's start about the truths about BookCon. So number 1, don't use the BookCon app. The app was the worst app I have ever tried to use in my whole entire life, and the app had nothing to do with any of the ARC drops or the giveaways or anything. It just had to do with the panels and the in-booth signings, and in my opinion, I don't even know how people have time to go to panels and listen to people talk if they want to get books, because you literally would have to pick one or the other. So you could either get autographs from your favorite authors, you could go to panels and listen to them talk about upcoming books. But if you're doing that, you're going to have to walk all the way across the convention center to actually go to those. And then you're going to miss pretty much multiple giveaways and ARC drops because you have to stand in line so long to be able to get one book. And so I don't even know. I know that there were teenagers that would have both parents there, and all 3 of them were standing in different lines. And I do know that that is one way that so many people will get so many books, but it was me and 3 of my friends, and we all wanted to get our own books, obviously. So I was standing in a line for a thriller ARC drop, while some of them were standing in lines for a fantasy ARC drop. And so we just didn't even go to any panels or anything else because it took hours to get one book, and we went for the books. We wanted to get books and ARCs and stuff like that. So don't use the BookCon app unless all you want to do is go listen to authors talk all day long and you don't want any free books. So the first day, BookCon was from 10 until 6 p.m. We had scheduled to get there at 10 because we actually had to drive into New York City because I stayed at my dad's house in Pennsylvania. We ended up being in some traffic, so we didn't get there at 10. We got there at 11 o'clock. As soon as we walked into the convention center, we were completely lost because it's this huge convention center with a bunch of booths for the publishing houses and literally hundreds of people in all of these different lines all over the place. Like, there is hardly any place to walk. People are running into you. You have no clue what's going on. And we finally found some pamphlets and magazines that had some of these schedules in them. So you have an actual main magazine that is for the first day. They don't even hand out the magazine for the second day until you get there on the second day. And you have to go through this magazine, which has like things about authors and some stories and stuff like that in it. And then in between all of those pages are some of the publishing houses' schedules of ARC drops. But not only that, you have to walk to all of these booths for the publishing houses and pick up their copy of the schedule that would have their ARC drops and giveaways on it. So there was 3 different types of magazine, pamphlet, schedule things at least that I was holding at one single time, trying to flip through them, trying to see what time like an ARC drop was. And so by the time we even figured out that they're like where the pamphlets and the schedules and all that kind of stuff was, like we had missed so many opportunities. And so not only that, but on these schedules, it would say like Penguin Random House, say we had their pamphlet, and it would be Penguin Random House. There would be an ARC drop for, I don't know, the warehouse, and it would be at 2 p.m. So we would go over to whatever that booth was. They had booth numbers and colors and all that kind of stuff. And we would go to that at 2 p.m. or like a little bit beforehand, like 10 minutes beforehand. And everything was gone already, like literally gone, done. And we were like, how? Like this says 2 p.m. That's not correct. Like, yes, it happens at 2 p.m. or close to 2 p.m., but pretty much you have to figure out what you're doing and go find that booth and unofficially stand in line about an hour and a half to 2 hours early before the ARC drop is even supposed to officially happen. So we had missed out on so many opportunities because we didn't even know that. Like, who even knows that? You look at a schedule and you say, okay, this is happening at 2 p.m. Like, I'm gonna get there, 1:50 or something like that. And so finally, when I started getting books, I went into line at like 12:15 for an ARC drop that wasn't even going to happen until like 2 p.m. Like, I'm not even joking. My friend Allison waited for a fantasy ARC drop for 2.5 hours. For one book, people, okay? This isn't what everyone said, that they're literally handing you books at every corner, okay? It is not like that. And so that was super frustrating because we went into there expecting that you were going to get a lot of ARC drops and you were going to be able to, I don't know, get a lot of swag and a lot of stuff. Like, they did have pins. The bookmarks were not great though. It was literally like library type of publishing house bookmarks. So nothing spectacular. And you had to be on your phone constantly if you wanted to keep up with the social media, because they would post special things like, for instance, there were like the Siths or Scythes, like some people were dressed up as them. And on social media, I guess they had posted something about it. And they said, if you ask the Sith like, oh, do you have something for me? Then they would either give you like a button, or you could get the ARC drop release of Toll, which is the new, like the last of that series or whatever. And so there were so many different things that were happening. You had to pick and choose what you wanted to do. So like if you wanted to do a 3 p.m. ARC drop, you would have to make sure that that was a book that you wanted, because there could be like a whole bunch of other things happening at 3 p.m. So there could be like a fantasy ARC drop and a different ARC drop, and then an ARC drop happening at 2:30, but you were gonna miss it because you had to stand in line for the 3 p.m. ARC drop. So like there were just, I don't know, and it was so disorganized. Like, even though you would get there early, we were gonna go to this one fantasy arc drop, and it was supposed to be given away at 3 o'clock. They said that you couldn't line up until 2 p.m. because, you know, they don't want people literally, like, some publishing houses were okay with people like lining up early. Some of them weren't. They would break you up and then say you couldn't like start lining up yet. Couldn't start lining up for this one until 2 p.m. And we were huddling around there like around 1:45-ish. And then you know, people would just start kind of like crowding around you. As soon as 2 p.m. hit, they have these like big signs that's like line is open, and a person from the publishing house is like standing there with the line is open sign. And all of it, like, somehow we got into the back because like people are just crowding all over the place and from all sides. And as soon as they said line is open, hundreds of people got into line that we just couldn't get into the line. And that was even an hour before the arc drop. And so they have to count like how many people there are in line, and then they cut it off because they only have like 100 or so copies. It's not like they have 500 copies of this stuff. And then there's other times where even if you were in line, you're not going to get anything because some places give out tickets instead. And so, for instance, Penguin Random House would have a ticket kind of thing, and you'd have to be in line. So what we would have to do is I started asking like so many questions. Like, once I was there on the second day, I was so determined to get some of these books because I didn't want my experience to be like really bad. And so I would go up to the booth like 3 hours early, and I would talk to a person that's like in the publishing house, and I would say like, hey, this arc drop is happening at 1:45. Are you giving tickets away for that? And they would say, yes, here, you can have a ticket now. No, you need to come back exactly 30 minutes before that and we'll hand out the tickets. And so you would have to be there, and you would have to make sure that you got a ticket before everyone else got a ticket. They would literally sell out of tickets. Like, I mean, you didn't have to buy them, obviously, but they would literally like run out of tickets like in a minute, literally. And so my friend like Rudy and Jessica, they were trying to get an art copy of The Queen's Assassin, which was like a fantasy book. And there were so many people. They stood in this like group of people for so long, waiting for the people to hand out the tickets, and they'll like change the lines. And so if you think a line starts at a certain place, they'll start it from another place on purpose. And so then the person that was handing out the tickets was like completely in the back of them, and they all ended up only getting one ticket. So only one of my friends like actually got a book. And so it's just so crazy. Like, it's so disorganized. There's just so many lines going all over the place. You're not guaranteed anything at all. You have to wait hours and hours in order to even get a book. And so it's best if you go like with friends, because if you're standing in line, at least you have someone to talk to. The pros of BookCon were that everyone was like really nice. Like, even though everyone's like fighting to get the art copies and all that kind of stuff, the actual people are really nice. So I talked to people that, you know, I've never met before, and you're standing in line with them, and, you know, you're all having a good time talking about like books that you like. There was a time where I was waiting for a YA thriller arc drop, and I was there, you know, a couple hours early, and we were just like kind of standing around eating snacks, and the line had moved, and we probably would have missed that, because you really have to pay attention all around you at all times in case the line is moving or you see someone giving out tickets somewhere else. And the girls that were also like standing in line with us, they had seen that the line moved, and they came and got us, and they were like, hey, like, the line moved over here, like, you can come over here now. And I was like, wow, like, thank you so much, because they could have just not cared that we didn't know that the line moved. Like, it's, you know, why do you need to care? And we would have totally missed out on another arc drop. And so it's like, that was really, really cool. Being in the convention center and being in New York City, that was awesome in general. And it's really cool now to go back and, you know, like right now the buzz is all about BookCon, and all the people, like all of the cool book lover people get to go to BookCon. And I saw a bunch of like the actual famous YouTubers. Like, I saw Chelsea Delling Reads, and I saw Christine, and I saw Jessie the Reader, and like, you know, all of that kind of stuff, which was really cool. But at the same time, like, it's also so stressful. Like, it was way more chaotic and stressful, and it wasn't as fun as everyone made it seem. Will I go back again next year? I'm not sure. I actually don't know if I'm gonna go next year because I have a whole like book retreat with my actual book club on Facebook. And so we're gonna be doing that in July. So I might skip next year. Will I go back again? Yes, I will go back again, but I'm actually thinking of going to Book Expo instead of BookCon, because Book Expo is where you're more likely to get a bunch of ARCs, because you're actually just talking with the publishers, and only people that are like reviewing books, like booktubers, bookstagram, librarians, book bloggers, like those type of people actually get to go to Book Expo. You have to pay more money and you have to be approved. Like, I think you have to apply for it. And so then that's actually the main, like, where you would get more stuff, whereas BookCon is more for the fans. And so, you know, they want to meet the authors, they want to get the autographs, all that kind of stuff. But it definitely was not all sunshine and rainbows like I feel like everyone made it seem. And the one, like, I watched YouTube videos about BookCon, and yes, like, every single person says, like, you're not going to get what you want. You have to, like, plan and schedule. But, like, I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know that planning and scheduling meant that you were going to have to stand in line for 3 hours for each book and literally, like, jump up and grab a ticket before other people. I didn't know that if it said 2 p.m., that meant that you needed to stand in line at 12:30 p.m. They just didn't really explain it that well. And I mean, it might even change year to year. So, like, I know that one year they did wristbands instead of tickets. And, like, the thing is like, it's not a whole BookCon event. Like, each publishing house does a different thing than another publishing house. So no matter what, you're going to have to learn everything that the publishing house is doing, like, every single year. And so there was a lot of walking, standing, running. Like, you know, we barely got to eat snacks because that's one of the reasons why I didn't get to film very much, because, you know, when I'm in line waiting for something else, I'm literally like writing down or highlighting or figuring out what the next thing I was gonna go to as soon as I got that book. Because if you don't, you miss out on so many hours of art drops because you didn't have your plan set in stone. And the thing was you couldn't plan far in advance because you didn't know when these ARC drops were happening until you got to BookCon and you picked up all the flyers from all the publishing houses and figured out when their ARC drops were. So did I get a lot of stuff? I actually, before I went to BookCon, I won a giveaway for BookCon, and it was for a Romance Crushers event, and I ended up getting 8 romance books from that ticket. And so that was 8 books that I wouldn't have gotten if I had just went to BookCon as a normal, like, without having won that giveaway. I did end up giving about half of those books away to my friends, but I did end up getting, like, some books that I actually really wanted. So I got The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez, and it is signed. She was there because, you know, I won this ticket for the romance thing, so all of the authors were there. So I got that one, which I kept. I got a couple other ones that I gave away. So one of them was The Wedding Date, I believe, and I gave that to my friend Jessica, and there were a couple others that I gave to my friend Allison and Rudy. I also got Tessa Bailey's, I think this is an older book, Disturbing His Peace, and this one's signed as well. And then I got Meg Cabot's new book, No Judgments, and this one is also signed. So these were the 3 books that I kept from that romancing event that I had won the giveaway ticket for. I did end up, like, getting 8 books in total, but I had given them away. So I kept 3 of them. Then I stood in line for so long for a YA thriller ARC drop, and I ended up getting a tote bag and a book from that, and I got Here There Are Monsters, and this is a YA thriller, so I am excited about this one. It's kind of like the Blair Witch Project meets Imaginary Girls, it says, and I'm going to be sending this off to my friends to read after me. The book that I got from Penguin Random House was Tell Me Everything. This was in a it was called Book Wizards. So you stood in line, obviously. Once you got a ticket, then you went up to this iPad and you answered a couple questions of what type of book that you like, and then it would pop up with whatever book that you won. And this was one that I won, and I absolutely love this. Like, this is something that I definitely want to read, so I'm super excited about this. Then there was an ARC drop of The Warehouse by Rob Hart, and I actually got to meet him and got his signature. He personalized it for me, so that was really cool. And so this was another one where I had to get there super early, waited in line, got a ticket, and then I got his book and he signed it, which was amazing. So that was really fun. Like, that was definitely a pro, super exciting. I've never really gone and gotten an ARC of a book and like gotten it signed and met the author and stuff. So that was really fun. I did get a couple other books. Like, I got a John Grisham book and a true crime book and a couple other like thriller and some middle grade books, but those aren't ones that I actually want to read, so I'm putting them in my giveaway pile for my book club. But all in all, if I hadn't won that romance giveaway, I got 3 books the first day. 2 of them were adult and 1 was middle grade, and then I got 4 books the second day. 1 was middle grade and 3 of them were like adult or like that YA thriller. So, was it worth it? Like, if you actually think about it, was that worth it to have like mostly half of the books that I wasn't really interested in, but that I just won, from spinning the wheel or whatever it was that I did? I don't know. So that's the thing. Like, I thought I was going to get more books that I actually was excited about. It was really nice that I won that giveaway for the romance thing because I am really excited about some of those books. But, will I go back if you're, just the books that you do win are ones that you don't really like? Now, I did pick up 4 books that I actually bought. They were only $5 each, and I am super excited about them. So I got The Lost by Natasha Preston. I got H2O, which is like a sci-fi dystopian book, I guess. I got The Cabin by Natasha Preston and The Assassin Game by Kirsty McKay. And so these were all only $5. Normally they're $10.99. So they were a little bit less than half price. These are like the first books I bought this year, actually. I was going to get Little Lovely Things because that's like on my list to read. I do have it on NetGalley, but I thought having the copy would be awesome. But when I went back to get it, they were already sold out of it, so I should have gotten it right away. I also got probably like 6 tote bags. The tote bags were definitely easier to get because a lot of them you just had to like sign up for a publishing house's like newsletter, and then you show them that you signed up and then you got a tote bag. Or you follow a publishing house like on Instagram, show them that you're following them, and then you get a tote bag, like something like that. And then I picked up all these like random pins, and there's like posters and like stuff like that. A lot of that stuff though, like I am not super thrilled about because like I'm like more of a minimalist. Like, I don't like all those knickknacks. I did bring them home because I'm gonna use them for like future giveaways in my book club. If I didn't have a book club, and if I didn't need things to give away to people, I was really just interested in like the tote bags and the books. So BookCon just didn't have a lot of that stuff for me. I know that next year, like since I know more about BookCon, I actually would be able to get probably a couple more books. Like, I think I'd be able to get maybe 5 books a day because now that I know how like some of the ARC drops work. But of all the money that I spent, like I drove 2.5 hours to go in and 2.5 hours to go back, stayed at my dad's house in Pennsylvania. And so the driving was a little stressful, but we did that because that was cheaper than us getting like a hotel. Hotels are like $400 a night. And so if you think about it, like all of the money that you're spending to go to BookCon, definitely like you could just buy all of these books. You could buy all these probably cheaper on Amazon and save like hundreds of dollars than like going to BookCon and spending all that money and like going out to eat and all that stuff and getting like, a couple ARCs that you wanted and then a couple books that you didn't want. So all in all, the experience was really great. Once we've like figured out how it was going to, I will definitely go back, but I don't know exactly when, like how many years I'm gonna wait to go back. But I just wanted to make this video so that way you guys knew like it's not all sunshine and rainbows, it's not all fun and games. It actually is really hard. It's very stressful, and it's not that fun waiting in line for hours and then not being guaranteed to get that book. If you actually went to BookCon and you think that, you know, maybe I just had a bad experience or something, like, you can let me know down in the comments, like, let me know your true thoughts. But I have seen just a lot of comments also now on Instagram and other places where people feel the same way as me, and I wish I would have noticed that before I went to BookCon. Thanks for watching this like ranty video, but I wanted to have like an actual honest opinion about BookCon, and I didn't want, you know, this to be just another video about how awesome BookCon is and how much stuff I brought home. Like, I wanted you to know how much I went through just to get like this signed copy. Like, you know, it was hours worth. So yeah, that's my honest opinion. Hope that you enjoyed this video. Give it a big thumbs up if you did, and I will see you all in another video. Bye everyone.